Have you ever been there? You're all set, ready to tackle that big project or maybe dive into something new for work or finally get through that book you've been meaning to finish. You open it up, you look at the screen, and then wham, it just hits you.
Oh, yeah.
That wave of sleepiness, like completely undeniable. The words start blurring, your head gets heavy.
And suddenly that really interesting subject is basically a lullaby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The world's most effective lullaby. It's such a common thing, isn't it, that struggle to stay focused when your brain just wants to, I don't know, power down.
It absolutely is. That feeling when, your ambition meets your body saying, nope, time for a nap. And it happens to everyone, no matter what you're trying to do.
It really does. And today, we're going to dive deep into some, pretty unexpected advice on how to fight that exact feeling.
Right.
You might think we'd be looking at, modern productivity hacks or maybe the latest thinking on caffeine.
Yeah.
But nope.
Not this time.
Our source for this deep dive is actually ancient Buddhist teachings, specifically advice the Buddha gave to a monk who was having a really tough time with sleepiness during meditation.
That's right. The text we're looking at lays out these 7 specific tips given in that meditation context. But what's amazing is how relevant they feel today. Even though they were for meditation, the ideas behind them are, surprisingly practical for anyone just trying to stay awake and alert while studying or focusing on anything, really.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. Unpack these 7 tips and also look at what the Buddha suggested if, you try everything and still feel sleepy.
Let's jump in.
Okay, so the first tip, it involves changing how you see the task itself, like changing your perception.
Exactly. What's really insightful here is the idea that sometimes the sleepiness isn't about where you are or when you're studying, it's about what you're studying.
Okay.
If you find the subject, boring or just uninteresting, your body's natural reaction might actually be to feel drowsy. It's almost like it's trying to check out.
So you're saying your body's voting no on the current topic?
Sort of, yeah. So the solution isn't necessarily to just push harder.
Right. Don't just power through.
Instead, the advice is to strategically switch gears. If you feel that sleepiness coming on, change to studying something you actually find enjoyable or interesting for a bit.
Okay, so use interest as a kind of jump start.
Precisely. Your brain wants stimulation. So giving it something engaging isn't just a distraction. It's more like rebooting your focus. You tap into curiosity, maybe get those reward systems going in the brain, and that actively wakes things up. Then, once you feel more active and alert, you can go back to the original, maybe less exciting subject.
That makes a lot of sense. Use engagement to reset. Okay, so building on that idea of active mental engagement, the second tip is more direct. Memorize it. How does trying to memorize something fight sleepiness?
Well, this is about actively recalling something you've learned. So when you feel drowsy, you deliberately challenge yourself. You try to remember a specific fact or a concept, or maybe a detail you just covered, and you don't just recall it, you really examine it in your mind.
So not passive reading, it's active mental work.
Exactly. Active recall forces your brain into a high demand mode. You're not just thinking about it, you're pulling it out of memory, constructing it. That's much more intense.
Right.
And that kind of mental workout makes it pretty hard for your mind to just drift off into sleep.
Keeps your brain on its toes. Okay, clever.
Yeah.
Now, tip number 3 brings in a physical aspect. Reciting. Saying what you're studying out loud. The source mentions something about surprising science behind this.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The text explains that when you recite, you're activating your jaw muscles, your mouth.
Okay.
And it actually creates vibrations in your skull. So this physical action plus the sound, it's not just about hearing the words again.
It's more than just auditory feedback.
Much more. It's multisensory. You've got the sound, the muscle movement, even those vibrations. It's like sending a direct signal to your brain saying, hey, wake up. We're doing something active here.
Wow.
It's a powerful feedback loop, pulling your mind away from just passively sitting there feeling sleepy. This active sound production generates real energy, making it easier to stay alert.
That's a really unique take on talking to yourself while studying. Okay, so if engaging the mind and the voice isn't quite enough, tip 4 is very direct. Pinch your ears and rub your limbs. Simple, but what's the effect?
Well, the explanation is that this simple physical action improves blood circulation locally. And it sends direct sensory information right into your nervous system. Pinching your ears, rubbing your arms or legs. It's like a targeted wake-up call for your body.
A physical jolt.
Exactly. It stimulates the body, which then signals the brain, and that helps reduce the feeling of sleepiness. It's immediate, almost instinctive, brings your awareness right back to your physical self.
Like a quick, built-in reset. No coffee needed. Okay, if those quicker fixes don't cut it, tip 5 is a bit more involved. Get up, wash your eyes, and look at the night sky. This sounds like a full system reset.
It really is a multi-step process designed for a bigger shift in your state. So if you're really feeling it, that deep sleepiness, you actually get up, leave your study spot, go wash your eyes with cold water.
Ooh, yeah, cold water helps.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then, especially if it's nighttime, the advice is to go outside if you can. Look at the stars, the sky, just appreciate nature, feel the breeze.
Ah, okay. The whole package.
Right. It's the combination. The movement, the cold water shock, the fresh air, maybe connecting with something bigger like the night sky. It all works together to really revitalize you, body and mind. You feel refreshed, ready to go back.
It's a complete break from the pattern, using the environment to change your internal state.
Precisely.
Which actually leads perfectly into tip number 6. Focus on the perception of light. How does that work?
Yeah. Well, the core problem identified in the source is pretty straightforward. Darkness signals sleep time, right?
Yeah, naturally.
We associate darkness with rest. So studying in a room that's dim, or actually dark, can definitely make drowsiness worse. It's like a cue for your body to wind down.
Makes sense. So the Buddha's advice here is what? Turn on more lights.
That's part of it, yeah. Focus on something bright. Definitely study under a good light source. But it goes further. You should also actively imagine you're studying in the daytime, even if it's the middle of the night. Cultivate that feeling of brightness.
So trick your brain with light perception, real or imagined.
Exactly. And the impact can be quite powerful. Whether the light is physically there or you're just strongly visualizing it, focusing on that perception of brightness helps lessen sleepiness.
Yeah.
You're basically using your mind to override the body's automatic response to darkness. Changing your internal environment, even if the external one stays dark. It really shows that mind-body connection.
It's fascinating how much perception matters. Okay, so we've gone through quite a few strategies. If you're still feeling drowsy after all that, we get to tip number 7, walking meditation. What is that exactly?
Right. This is the approach for when sleepiness is really persistent. You get up and you do what's known as walking meditation.
Yeah.
It's a core mindfulness practice. You walk back and forth, maybe in a clear space, but you walk slowly, mindfully. You focus completely on the physical sensations.
Like what?
The feeling of your feet lifting, moving, placing down, the balance of your body, your posture, maybe your breath as you walk.
So it's active, but also very focused mentally.
That's the key. It activates your body through the movement, obviously, but it also activates your mind because mindfulness itself requires pretty intense focus. You can't really be mindful and drifting off to sleep at the same time.
Got it.
It integrates the physical and the mental, keeping both engaged and awake.
Okay, so we've covered these 7 strategies, each tackling sleepiness from a slightly different angle. But what if? What if you really tried them all? You gave them an honest go, and you're still just overwhelmingly sleepy. What then? This is where that ultimate insight comes in, right?
Yes. And the wisdom here is, I think, surprisingly compassionate, but also very practical. It basically acknowledges that if you've tried all these active techniques and they haven't worked, then that's a pretty clear sign you genuinely need to rest. It's not failure, it's your body's legitimate need for sleep taking over.
So the advice isn't just give up and go to sleep.
Not quite just that. The instruction is specific. Go to bed mindfully.
Mindfully sleeping, how does that work?
Be aware of your posture as you lie down. Don't just crash. And crucially, set a clear intention or like a mental timer for waking up.
What do you mean, a mental timer?
You consciously tell yourself, I will wake up after 1 hour, or I will wake up refreshed at 6 a.m. Whatever it is, make a clear mental note of your intention to wake up.
And that helps?
Apparently, yes. According to the source, this mindful approach to resting, including that clear intention, makes the actual process of waking up easier and more deliberate. It's not just being woken by an alarm, you've sort of primed yourself.
Interesting.
And this leads to a really profound point the source makes about priority.
Priority?
Yes. It suggests that sleepiness at a deeper level often comes down to what you are consciously prioritizing in that moment.
Okay, explain that.
If your genuine top priority in that moment is to study, to learn, to focus.
Yeah.
Your mind will find it easier to stay alert. You'll push through the mild sleepiness more effectively.
Ah.
But if deep down your mind is actually prioritizing rest, comfort, escape from the task,
Yeah.
then you'll feel that sleepiness much more strongly. You'll be more likely to succumb to it.
So it's about consciously choosing what takes precedence in your mind, not just being a passive victim of feeling tired.
Exactly that. It's a powerful idea. These physical and mental tips are great tools, but our fundamental mental state, our intentions, they play a huge role in whether we feel alert or drowsy. Our internal priorities really influence our external experience.
Wow. So wrapping this up, what we've really seen today is how this ancient wisdom, coming from a totally different context, offers incredibly practical, effective strategies for such a common modern problem.
Right. Staying alert, staying focused, whether it's for meditation, study, work, the principles apply.
These aren't just theories. They're things you can actually try, little experiments you can run on yourself.
Absolutely. And we'd encourage you, the listener, to try some of these out. See what works for you. Maybe reciting is your thing. Maybe it's the cold water. Maybe it's just switching subjects for 10 minutes. Different things click for different people.
Definitely. And maybe the big thing to chew on after this is how much of our focus, our energy levels, is purely physical, and how much is shaped by our mind.
Mm-hmm. By our intentions, by what we truly prioritize moment to moment.
What does it mean to bring that kind of ancient mindfulness into our everyday push for productivity and learning? Something to think about.